Because we are finite, we lift up our eyes to the infinite sky and feel wonder and awe. Because we have stumbled, we take the tender hand which beckons us to rise, and we feel the strength and reassurance. Because we are lonely, we reach out to those around us and feel warmth and acceptance. Because we are human, we do all these things, and in our worship feel the presence of the divine. These opening words are by David Usher, and they welcome us, all of us who are gathered this morning for this Sunday service. Welcome to those of you who are gathered here in person at Essex Church, and to all those who are joining us via Zoom, and anyone who is watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Welcome. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Michael Allured, and I'm the minister with Golders Green Unitarians, and currently also the chair and acting secretary of our Unitarian district of London and the South East. The theme of this morning's service is through triumphs and disasters, real living. In our strength and in our fragility, we gather here, with our joys and our woes, each with our gifts, each with our failings, aspiring to feed our best selves, even and perhaps especially when life gives us lemons. Let's light our chalice flame now, as we do each week. It's a moment for us to stop and take breath, to settle ourselves down, to put aside any preoccupations that we came in carrying. The lighting of the chalice is a simple ritual that connects us in solidarity with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists all over the world, and it reminds us of the proud and historic, progressive religious tradition of which this gathering is part. We light this chalice as a symbol of the spark of life, which abides within us and around us. May it be a light in a dark night, a light in a window that becomes and welcomes the weary traveller home. May it be as a light in a hand of a trusted friend, a hand that guides us along the path. May it be as the light in the face of the one we love, bright with joy. Let's sing together now our first hymn, which is 244 in your green books, Glad That I Live Am I. It's not one that you've sung often at Essex Church, so I'm going to ask Maria to play it through before you sing. And for those joining via Zoom, the words will be up on the screen. Feel free to sit or stand as you prefer, and let's sing up as best we can. Glad that I live am I. Candles are lit. Let's take a few moments now to take those joys and concerns and extend them into time of prayer. This prayer is based on some words by Tony McNeill. You might want to adjust your position for comfort. Close your eyes, soften your gaze. There might be a posture that helps you to feel more prayerful. Whatever works for you. Do whatever you need to do to get into the right state of mind and body for us to pray together. To be fully present here and now in this sacred time and space with each other and with that which is both within and beyond us. Spirit of life, God of all love, in whom we live and move and have our being, we turn our full attention to you, the light within and the light without, as we tune in to the depths of this life and the greater wisdom to which and through which we are all intimately connected. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and stillness at the very center of our being. In prayer, we look back and survey the pattern of our unfolding lives. There have been triumphs and some disasters, and often periods of quietness and inertia. We have gained and possibly lost We have promised and fulfilled, promised and not fulfilled. We have known moments of joy and moments of sadness. Let us retain the precious memories and then resolve to move forward. In the days to come, may we be bold and adventurous in our thinking. May we look forward with enthusiasm, feel strengthened by the experiences of the past. Make plans. Feel the courage in your heart that brings faith. Let us bless our families and our friends. Let us bless this community we belong to. May we each be a beacon of peace and love that gives hope to all. And if you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to say their names aloud in the coming moments of stillness. And if you're online, please type the names into the chat box on Zoom. In our naming people in our hearts, may we hold them in our thoughts and our prayers this morning. All who suffer the agonies of ill health, mental and physical. All who are caught up in war and natural disasters. In a few moments of shared stillness now, may we speak inwardly some of those deepest prayers of our hearts, the joys and sorrows we came in carrying with us this morning. Joys and sorrows in our own lives and of the wider world. Let us each lift up whatever is on our heart this day and silently ask for what we most need. Spirit of life, God of all love, as this time of prayer comes to a close, we offer up our joys and concerns, our hopes and our fears, our beauty and our brokenness. And we call on you for insight, healing, and renewal. As we look forward now to the coming week, help us to live well each day and to be our best selves, using our unique gifts in the service of love and justice and peace. So be it. Our next hymn is 235 in your green books, A Melody of Love. Again, it's not one you sing that often here at Essex Church, so I'll ask Maria again to play a verse before we sing.
This is the reading Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan, and I've read this before a few years ago, and we had the picture on the front. You'll just have to imagine that tiny pale blue dot in there. So it's become known as this reading has become known as the Pale Blue Dot, and it's taken from writings by the famous astronomer Carl Sagan, and he's referring to a particular photo taken of our planet Earth home back in 1990 by NASA's Voyager 1 spacecraft as it was leaving our solar system to wander into interstellar space. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this tiny pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The earth is the only world known so far to harbour life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment the earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
Thanks, John. We're now moving into a time of meditation to take us into the silence. I'm going to share with you a poem, If, by Rudyard Kipling, with a slight adaptation for you to ponder inwardly. And then we'll hold a short silence. And we'll end when I sound the bell, as usual. And then we'll hear some music for our continued reflection. Let's do what we need to do to be comfortable. Maybe adjust your position. Put your feet flat on the ground. And as we always say, the words are an offering. Use this time to meditate in your own way. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about. Don't deal in lies. Or being hated. Don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves, to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch or toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a wise one. So we have our second reading now.
This is a reading from Loving Olivia by Liz Astor. Liz Astor, the mother of two daughters, one with autism and one with ADHD, wrote a book on the story of her struggle to help her daughters and to help other parents. Her words are a mediation on disaster, triumph and hope. In 1997, my youngest daughter Olivia, who was then aged 4.5, was diagnosed with moderate to severe autism, dyspraxia, and moderate learning disability. 9 years later, I can hardly remember the time when my life was not immersed in the complex and fascinating world of autism. My story is, in many ways, similar to the millions of parents and siblings who find themselves with a disabled child, brother, or sister. When Olivia was born, I knew absolutely nothing about autism and very little about the world of disability and ADHD. What I hoped to achieve when I set out to write my story was primarily to hand a roadmap of disability to parents. I wanted to share my hopes and dreams, triumphs and failures, joy and despair, so that others would know they are not on their own, as so often I felt deeply alone and isolated, not knowing where to turn or how to access help and advice. Above all, I wanted to give my reader comfort, courage, and hope. We all put on a brave face to the world. Too brave a face can sometimes make others wonder if one is Superwoman, who can cope so well that they are feeling even more depressed and inadequate. Whatever our backgrounds and abilities, we all love, suffer, and laugh. And now, 9 years after her diagnosis, I can say with complete honesty that I would not have a different Olivia. She has changed my life entirely, and through both my daughters, it has been greatly enriched. Without Olivia's autism and Natalia's ADHD, I would never have climbed the highest mountain in Africa, run the London Marathon, or walked across this semi-arid desert, I've said the right, desert, of Inner Mongolia. I would not have started a program of exercise that has become an intricate part of my life, met hundreds of truly remarkable people, and been inspired daily by what other people achieve. It has filled me with desire to live as fully as possible. I hope that Loving Olivia will inspire others to climb mountains, fundraise for their special charity, and most of all, to celebrate our differences.
Joy and woe are woven fine, clothing for the soul divine. Under every leaf and pine runs a joy with silken twine. If you've been following the Olympics this summer, you'll have encountered stories of triumph and disaster in the lives of those who share this earth with us. On one of the days, I felt joy at stories of Tom Daley and Nora Williams winning silver medals with their Olympic diving prowess. And on the same day, I felt revulsion and horror at the murder of 3 children in a senseless knife attack and the devastation it brought to their parents, their siblings and friends, professionals and whole communities. The riots that followed, fueled by ignorance and pain and feeling powerless, made me wonder about the progress we've made as a species. Sometimes it feels that Even the very foundations in our lives are built on sand. In Wales, communities and individuals this summer, once proud of one of their own rising up to the top of his game in broadcasting, have had their feelings of safety and certainty pulled from under them. His achievements have turned to dust, and the artist who painted his image on a celebratory mural has now painted over it. Life is precious, strong and robust, and yet tender and fragile. All the things we find ourselves taking for granted, that when we go out in the morning, we shall return to the house in the evening, those certainties that we relied on, because they are simply the furniture that's part of the fabric of our lives, suddenly cast to the four winds. And we find ourselves having to salvage what we can and to mend the lives that have been cracked. Perhaps broken, it may feel as if beyond repair. We're on this earth, each one of us. We're born, we die. We know the biology of that. And then there's the time in between. That's our choice to shape and craft as best we can this life that we have to live and to use. There are mysteries and lots of questions, and there are circumstances and events. All of the biblical stories in the Old and New Testaments are about unfolding events and how human beings respond to them, played their parts for good or evil. There are stories of triumph and disaster and struggle, triumph, disaster and struggle for the world, for continents, nations, communities, individuals. The story of Rabbi Jesus is the ultimate account of disaster and triumph. How can we respond to these circumstances that weave fine our joys and our woes if we are to survive as individuals, as communities, as inhabitants of this tiny planet Earth? How can we try to survive in autumn 2024 amidst the noise and misinformation, the hatred stirred up by setting one against another? When a Nike advert asks throughout, "Am I a bad person because I want to win?" I have no empathy and compassion, and the implicit answer is no. Where do we go when an advert tells us, "Am I a bad person because I will walk over everyone to get what I want?" When dialogues call drag shows satanic and riots fueled by hatred of others just because of the colour of someone's skin or their religion become, in irrational minds, the identified problem, how do we respond? We keep showing up and we keep offering our message of hope and love manifest in word and deed to each other and beyond these doors of Essex Church. We invite the stranger in, knowing that there will be triumphs and there will be disasters in the process, and we embrace and welcome the risk. We embrace the risk because it's necessary. There's nothing else that we can do. if we really want to live the values of our precious Unitarian faith that we profess, justice, equity, compassion in human relations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, democratic community, world community, the interdependent web of which we are all part. Meanwhile, as we aspire to these values, we have our triumphs and our disasters to contend with. And it's how we do it that gives us the chance of finding our way towards living, albeit in small ways, these Unitarian, I would say, divine values. Part of it is about how we deal with our triumphs and disasters on an individual scale and also on a global one. Some of the stories of the athletes competing in the Paris Olympics and the Paralympics have inspired me. Adam Peaty won the silver medal in the 100 metres breaststroke final. He'd already won 2 gold medals in previous games, and all the media hype was about whether he could make history and win 3 golds. When he was interviewed after the race, he cried, not tears of grief at the loss at having come second, but happy tears, because in his words, he'd given it his all. For him, it wasn't about the end goal, but the process. It doesn't matter what time it says on the clock, he said. I know I'm a winner. So for Adam, winning does not necessarily mean coming first. Another Olympian, the rower Kelly Glover, who also just missed out on winning another gold in her race, could also have felt deflated by being reminded by a journalist that she'd only come second. Except Rosie Millard, interviewing her for the Radio Times, writes, she's still remarkably diffident about her achievements. She keeps her gold medals in a sock. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those 2 imposters all the same. Echoes here of the lessons from Kipling's poem For All of Us. Maybe. And from Carl Sagan's The Pale Blue Dot, one of today's readings, which reminds us how small we humans are compared to the grand vastness of the cosmos, encouraging us to let go of what really doesn't matter. As I pondered triumph and disaster, I came across yet another reality check on Facebook. One post reminded readers that in 3 generations, everyone who knew you and everyone who disapproved of who you wanted to be will be dead. Our time on this planet is a gift. Let's use it to spread the rich seeds of joy, not the dry, empty husks of disaster. That's another take on the blue dot reading. As Carl Sagan observes, astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience, like learning to react to triumph and disaster. Similarly, it offers us perspective. In Loving Olivia, the book Liz Astor wrote about bringing up her autistic daughter, 2 chapters stand out. One is called Family Trips, Mishaps and Magic, and the other from the peaks of Peru to the thoughts of despair. Coming to terms with autism, the magic of finding a way to help Olivia open her Christmas presents. Then realizing and learning to live with the fact that with disabled children, there are magical moments, but there will be setbacks and life will never be problem-free. But then, is it problem-free even when we don't have Liz Astor's challenges? A few days ago, I came across an interview again on Facebook with a woman aged 103. She was 70 when her husband asked her for a divorce after many years of marriage. Disaster, she felt initially. Take a deep breath, she advised in the interview. Life is amazing, awesome at 103. Don't get stuck, she urged. Find something to make your heart sing, she counselled, and embrace the 5 L's. Love, life, love being the satellite partner necessary for the other L's to blossom. Laughter for happiness and joy. Labour for fulfilment without drudgery, and language to enhance understanding. At 103, she'd worked out for herself how to navigate the world. Liz Astor shares how she has done the same in navigating our worlds, our joys, our challenges, our highs and our low points. We each need to find our own ways through the life, through, I hope, with help from one another. And I hope too, with the Unitarian values that we discern and share and live together. Amen. Let's sing our final hymn now, 132, Children of the Universe. And again, Maria will play it through before we sing. I dedicate that hymn to children all over the world who are innocent victims of violence. Now for our announcements.
Thank you, Michael, for leading our service today. Thanks, John and Liz, for reading. Thanks to Benjie and Maria for lovely music. Thanks to Ramona for tech hosting. Thanks to Charlotte for co-hosting. If you're joining on Zoom, please do hang around after the service for a chat. Thanks to John for greeting and Pat for making coffee. For those of you who are here in person, please stay for a cuppa in the hall next door. We've got various in-person activities coming up. This afternoon, please do stay after the service for a singing lesson with Margaret. That's free of charge and starts at 12:30. Then on Wednesday night at 7 p.m, our community singing group continues, and that's always great fun. If you're planning to come to that and you're not on Jane's contact list, do let her know in case there are any last-minute change of plan. There'll be cake as usual on Wednesday night, and actually there's a little bit left for after the service today. The Better World Book Club is happening on Zoom tonight when we're discussing Project Unlonely. If you're expecting to go to that and haven't yet had a link, get in touch with Jane. Next month we're discussing Africa is Not a Country by Deepo Faloing. We'll have a few library copies to pick up at church next Sunday if you'd like to borrow one. Let Jane know if you want to join that group on Sunday, 27th October. Sonia will be offering her regular Nia dance class here at the church on Friday at 12:30 p.m. We've got an online Heart and Soul Contemplative Spiritual Gathering on Friday at 7, and our theme this week is slowing down. We gather for sharing and prayer, and it's a great way to get to know others on a deeper level. Sign up with Rita if you want to go along to that. Next week, we'll be back at 11 a.m. when the Reverend Sheena Gabriel will be leaving our service on the theme of living with brokenness and mending what can be mended. Details of all our various activities are printed on the back of the order of service for you to take away, and are also in the Friday email. Please do sign up for the mailing list if you haven't already. The congregation very much has a life beyond Sunday mornings. We encourage you to keep in touch, look out for each other, and do what you can to nurture supportive connections. I think that's everything, and I'll hand back to Michael now for our closing words.
So, before coffee and tea for our closing words. As we leave here today, we give thanks for the many stories of our lives and for all those who hold us gently while we tell them. We leave grateful for the listeners, for those who sit quietly and give us the gift of a version of themselves born in a moment of tender grace. And we leave grateful for the storytellers who with courage and love give us the gift of their true selves. May the connections that we each have with each other and the world, let us use those to discover and rediscover, to feed our hearts and our minds, nurture our souls, now and always. Amen.